You can earn money online while you're sleeping, but you can't earn money if you've not gone and opened the shop. It came to a point when our landlady wanted to increase the rent, just almost double the rent on our shop, that we said we don't need bricks and mortar. We are exclusively online.
It's the e-commerce master plan podcast. Here to help you solve your marketing problems and grow your e-commerce business. Cutting through the hype to bring you inspiration and advice from the e-commerce sector and beyond. Here's your host, Chloe Thomas.
Hello and welcome. It's great to have you here. Thank you for hitting play and choosing to listen to one of our inspiring guests. Before we get to the guest, though, all of us here at e-commerce masterplan love it when you rave about us on social or in lists or on blogs. So I like to repay your loveliness by giving some of you a shout out when you do that. So huge thanks to Rob Moberly, who I know from back away. Hey Rob, for DMing me about the fact he still enjoys the podcast. I think Rob was one of our very first listeners. So Rob, lovely to hear from you. Hope all is well in your world. So what are we doing in this episode? Well, we're chatting to the founder of a food business who's taken it all the way to over £1 million a year in sales. They are doing D2C e-commerce. They're also doing B2B and wholesale activity. She's been having a really fascinating last 12 months. She'll be sharing some of the lessons learned from that. And super insightful guest. I really enjoy my chat with Rachel, and I hope you do too. Make sure you listen to the end of the episode so you don't miss out on her super insightful top tips and my own take on the episode. We all know promotions work, but they damage brands and margins. RevLifter's intelligent offers drive results by using behavioural signals to target the right customers at the right time. When Radley London partnered with RevLifter, they saw 15% more conversions, 20% higher AOV, and an 8% saving on promotional costs. Wow! Stop wasting discounts on people who would buy anyway. You can try RevLifter free for 90 days. Visit ecmp.info/RevLifter to learn more and let RevLifter handle the heavy lifting. That's ecmp.info/RevLifter. ecmp.info/RevLifter. And now to introduce our special guest. Rachel Hanretty is the founder and CEO at Mademoiselle Macaron, sellers of luxury, handmade French macarons. Rachel's grown the business from a market stall in 2013 to a seven-figure business today. They now sell via their Shopify store to both D2C and B2B customers, via marketplaces like Not on the High Street, and about 40% of turnover is B2B sales. Hello, Rachel.
Hello, but to be on brand, I should say bonjour to start this conversation.
Bonjour indeed. Very cool to have you here today. How did you get into the world of e-commerce?
Well, I guess the answer to that is the same almost as how I got into starting a business, kind of by necessity and by accident. So Mademoiselle Macaron, as you said, started out as a market stall, me making macarons at home. The natural progression was to essentially just not make macarons in my flat. And we got a shop that had the back area where we could have a kitchen. So we're primarily bricks and mortar to begin with, a combination of some available funding through Edinburgh City Council, where we're based, to have a graduate, combination of that funding of that person who could set up a website, plus the necessity really, because bricks and mortar just is not scalable. And we thought we need to get on this pretty soon. Otherwise, this business will not grow the way I believe it can.
Got you. So it's kind of we've nailed the product, we've nailed our branding, we know who our customers are, but this bricks and mortar game is challenging. So let's free the business by taking it online, I suppose, set it free.
Exactly. And because it did grow, because you can earn money online while you're sleeping, but you can't earn money if you've not gone and opened the shop. It came to a point when our landlady wanted to increase the rent, just almost double the rent on our shop, that we said we don't need bricks and mortar. We are exclusively online. And by that point had moved to a manufacturing site and didn't need to keep it pretty, didn't need to keep it on brand. We were making thousands of macarons and selling them online. So yeah, it was a push and a shove and we don't need you bricks and mortar, but we would have liked to have you if that rent had stayed reasonable. So had the rent not gone wild, who's to say that over time bricks and mortar might have become our priority over e-commerce, but hindsight's 2020.
Oh, indeed. And it's just one of those things that you just have to twist and pivot with the hand you're dealt at any month. As any month goes by in your business, you just have to make the most of it. And it sounds like to have clung on to that shop and the rent would have just made your life a lot harder.
Yes. And as entrepreneurs and business founders, we need to not make our lives as hard as they already are when you're juggling 500 things.
So true. So you said you are based in Edinburgh. Where are you shipping to? Are you purely a UK operation or do you send them overseas? Do you send them into France?
So we did try and tiptoe into sending to the EU. This was prior to Brexit. Because we're quite a fresh food product, it was just not worth our while. They were getting held up at customs and arriving at people's doorsteps completely stale. So we are UK based. Have we sold to France? Indirectly, we've sold to companies in London who have taken them with them to an event in Paris. So that's quite a nice feeling.
Definitely says the quality of the product. So the product, people could be forgiven for thinking it is just a single SKU, just a single product, but you've kind of expanded the macaron beyond all concept of single SKU, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. So we actually went headfirst into, a website that was so bespoke. So our main product was, we still have it, it's a custom macaron box builder. So you can choose the size, 6, 12, 18 or 24 macarons. You can have 3 salted caramel, 1 iron brew, 2 passion fruit. You get the idea. And it wasn't until maybe 4 or 5 years ago when we realized we actually had no way of tracking how many of what flavor we were selling, because we treated the product as the box of 6 macarons rather than the 4 pistachio and 2 vanilla. So it was a bit of an odd realization. We weren't used to even the terminology of SKU, because we just accepted that we had one product, but sold it in lots of variants. And I think because our website was so bespoke at the beginning, it never went, although it's built on Shopify, it was never tied to specific product layouts and listings that they have, all those preset fields. So we just completely bypass that essentially with our lovely unique coding. That's actually a problem, which I'll come onto later.
So nowadays, if someone comes on your website, can they buy one macaron, a box of pistachio, or have they got to go through that create your own box scenario?
So we have now set boxes, so classic box, and that'll contain your pistachio. So you can buy a set box of our classic flavors, for example, or our core flavors. You can put them into your bespoke box, and then you can buy it in the form that best suits your needs. So if you're hosting a garden party and pistachio is your favorite, you can buy trays of 24. They don't have gift box packaging. So our target market for that is different from the person buying their Mother's Day gift, for example. Or you can buy little boxes, little favor boxes for weddings, 1, 2 or 3 macarons. There's a minimum order quantity for that, because people do buy 2 macarons and pay more in shipping sometimes than the macarons. So the product is then packaged in a way that suits the weddings. And then you've got towers. You can have pistachio macarons in a big tower of 210 macarons. And you can even have the pistachio flavor in a pink shell if you were sticking to a very specific color theme for your events. So we're taking this one product, which I should probably explain briefly how it's made. You create a meringue, you add ground almonds and icing sugar and food coloring. You have little shells. You then make separately something like a chocolate ganache or a jam-based buttercream, and then fill the shells together. It remains beautiful. It goes in the fridge or it goes in the freezer, and then we pack from that. So the beauty of the product and therefore the scalability of the business comes from the fact that while it's a food product that's fresh, you can store it frozen. So we bake to stock rather than bake exclusively to order. Now, there are exceptions. If you're getting married and want that pistachio and pink shell, we're not going to hold that stock just in case. But when it comes to handling those custom boxes, we're just able to pull from all the flavors we have. Once it's defrosted, so it's been shipped to you, it's in transit, it then lasts 7 days, best kept in the fridge.
So when it leaves you, it's frozen. So thus keeping it kept during the postage process.
Yeah, exactly.
How clever. And how much easier from the production process that you're not going, right, someone literally whip up this many, because you've got them in the freezer ready to grab, pack, go.
Yeah, I think that's what lulled us into a false sense of security, and why we didn't have SKUs from the beginning, because we just always knew that we would have a bunch of pistachio. I'm honing in on pistachio. It's not actually my favourite flavour. Passion fruit is my favourite flavour at the moment, but salted caramel will always be my firstborn. So yeah, we just rammed the freezers. We've got 2 walk-in freezers, and we're just like, it's there, sure, like we'll be fine, until there was one Christmas when we were not fine, and that sort of started the swing to how do we set this up in a way we can control way better. So more development work.
Oh, there's always development work, isn't there? So what does the team look like? I mean, are you doing everything yourselves? Have you outsourced anything? Have you got a lot of people in the kitchen?
Yeah, so we're a team of 14. The majority of them are making the macarons by hand. And then we have 2 packers, fulfillment staff supported by customer service. And then we have our operations manager and our marketing manager. We do work with an external marketing agency on our ads, our paid ads, and we're currently on the hunt for a new web development agency partner after an interesting and tricky fallout with the people who had built our website. I don't know if I'm allowed to share that sort of nasty story on the podcast.
Well, I think lessons from nasty stories are great, but let's try not to name and shame.
Oh, no naming and shaming. No, definitely not. It was just a very odd fallout. And I think the lesson is to do with retainers and managing time and expectations. So any agencies out there who would like to hear what it's like from the client side, I would be happy to speak to. Yeah.
So you were with a Shopify agency with a retainer which was buying you units of hours.
Yeah.
Explicitly, and that was no longer serving everybody's purpose, I'm guessing?
So what was happening is, we bought our number of hours per month, and they had come to us, or not come to us, we had approached them to develop the website, to take over the website. The first iteration back in 2015 was by quite a small freelancer to this agency. And as the business grew, we were like, do you want to do our paid ads? You seem to do this too as a service. This makes sense to make this the perfect marriage, and you're going to help us grow, blah, 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 blah. I think in hindsight, having one agency do your paid ads and all that, as well as doing your web development work, just didn't work, because you're like stealing time from that side of things to give to the ads, and conflicting priorities. And eventually what happened was, to a degree perhaps, the taking for granted. Like they pay for the hours, done this for a couple of years. And I asked if we could not do ad work with them and work instead with an agency that's very content driven and they adapt content almost weekly rather than target audience segments by interest. So said to them we would like to work more on the development side, and came back with well, it's nothing at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That working with you makes us run at a loss and you can't scope out things. And it was just, I'm sure I'm not the perfect client. You know, clients are very difficult. I like to practice a degree of self-awareness, but the abruptness and just immediate toys out the pram types approach really caught me by surprise. It goes on, but I'll stop there.
It sounds like an example of one of those scenarios where you have to have the difficult conversations at the right time. And it sounds like they should have had a conversation with you based on the ferocity of the response a few years earlier to go, what we're doing for you isn't stacking up for us. How can we change this so it works better for both of us? Not just wait until a question gets asked and then go throw all the toys out the pram.
Well, what makes it even better is I actually gave them help to manage their time better. So, yeah.
So, very cool. Thank you for sharing that in a way that didn't reveal anything too much. But I'm sure there'll be a few people going, yeah, I've been there. We've been there. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, because it's good to hear. So you're on the hunt for a new agency at the moment.
Yes, we think we've found the right people. But the lesson that we've learned is we're going to start with a sort of audit and mini project rather than go into retainer time. So, and that's as much about understanding the working relationship and that personal fit and communication style as it is before they even do anything technical.
It is a really good way to get to know if you're going to have a good relationship, is to start with something smaller rather than jumping completely. So I love that. And are you going to, I mean, I know there's some web agencies out there who do an awesome job with the marketing, but I'm always a fan of giving them to the specialists. So are you going to keep the ads separate from the web dev?
Yes. Yeah, we're keeping it separate and seeing how that goes and trialing that. And yeah, so far pretty happy. But I think with the handover period between agencies, you've got to adjust your expectations. So we're only a couple of months in really, and we're waiting for that hoped for and anticipated hockey stick growth moment that will see us reach new people, new eyeballs, because our conversion rate is really solid. Our average order value we're really happy with. There are some caveats to that because we take our wholesale orders, quite a lot of them go through the website. We're happy with the look of the website, but we cannot get enough eyeballs. Our traffic is not where we need it to be. So that's why ads at the moment are the most pressing thing for us to address.
And it is content these days. And it's not like your product does not look really cool. So it should be possible. So I mentioned in the intro that about 40% of your turnover is B2B sales, both via the website and via other wholesale connections. And you didn't mention a B2B person in your team. So who's managing all the wholesale orders and relationships, I suppose, more than the picking and packing?
So that's a really interesting question because it's something. So to answer your question, we have relied on organic growth for what is now almost 12 years. And we have relied on inquiries coming to us. We have gone to two trade shows to meet potential trade buyers. But mostly you want macarons, we'll sell you macarons. The end. But we're not really holding your hand. And we will introduce an account manager, but not for those low unit price wholesale customers. We actually want to move away from them and replace the income from wholesale with better corporate client relationships. So corporate gifting. We had a company in November order £17,000 worth of macarons for their employee and client gifts for Christmas. That's a huge chunk of money that was from an organic Google search. Like they just typed something in, and like I asked, where did you find us? Oh, Google. Cool. So having someone handling that is what we need to look into, but we're going to test the water with a virtual assistant first, because I don't want to jump into employing someone. Our salary and national insurance contributions, as it is with for every business from April, is just going up so dramatically that I don't want to add to it for now.
It is that tricky chicken and egg situation with the salesperson, because it's like, we know we need someone, but no salesperson's cheap if they're any good. But you need a volume of leads before you can bring them on. So how do you fill that gap between where you are now and when you've got enough business coming through for it to be worth having someone to manage it? And it's such a tricky scenario, working out how to do that. What's got you, I feel like we've talked about negative things. What's got you excited about the business at the moment, Rachel? What are you looking forward to in 2025?
So I think I'm most excited about just opportunity, because we have been so reactive and now we're ready to be proactive, whether or not that is hiring someone externally or internally to do cold calling. But also because we've finally grown up. I'm a lot more confident and have woken up to what our USP is. So we want to do more content that is French inspired. So not just like talking about macarons, but talking about French culture, because the story of the business is actually that I lived in Paris and I learned how to make macarons in Paris. I studied French. I speak French. I love Paris. And that's not coming across on our website as strongly as it could be. So I'm excited about creating non-macaron specific content, which when I say it out loud is perhaps a bit odd or counterintuitive, but I believe that as online brands grow into more media companies than just like producers or manufacturers and whatnot, then we need to have more fun and create value for our customers by writing restaurant guides or how to find a good Beaujolais in the wine shops of Paris, fun stuff.
E-commerce Master Plan is supported by some of the greatest companies in the e-commerce sector. Here's a reminder of who they are.
We all know promotions work, but they damage brands and margins. RevLifter's intelligent offers drive results by using behavioural signals to target the right customers at the right time. When Radley London partnered with RevLifter, they saw 15% more conversions, 20% higher AOV, and an 8% saving on promotional costs. Wow! Stop wasting discounts on people who would buy anyway. You can try RevLifter free for 90 days. Visit ecmp.info/RevLifter to learn more and let RevLifter handle the heavy lifting. That's ecmp.info/RevLifter. ecmp.info/RevLifter.
It's time for the top tips round.
Okay, I love this section because it gives me and our listeners some really quick ideas for taking our businesses to the next level. So, Rachel, are you ready for the top tips?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Excellent. The book top tip. If everyone listening to this podcast agreed to take Friday off and read a book to make their business better, which book would you recommend?
I would recommend the book Traction, which actually has 2 spin-off books. Which is Traction for employees and Traction through sort of pretend story of a company in America. And what Traction is it's the entrepreneurial operating system, EOS, and it gives you exactly that, a system, processes to deliver growth, to gain traction and momentum in your business. And I think when stuff comes at you and there's so many competing priorities, it is really helpful to to have had this structure. So they call rocks your 90-day goals. And when something comes up to say, is that in the 90-day plan? No, it is not. Is that going to help us achieve our mission, our 3-year picture? No, it is not. Okay, leave it alone. So yes, the book Traction. Can I remember who wrote it? Actually, absolutely not. I can't.
I can fill that bit in. It's Gino Wickman, because I can see it on the bookshelf just slightly to my right. So I can give you that one. I love the fact that it's a book which you then have to, it gives you a system to do things by, and it helps you say no. And that's such a difficult thing in business, saying no. So love that framework. Traffic top tip. Which marketing method do you either prize above all others or think doesn't get the press it deserves?
I don't think offline marketing gets the press it deserves, nor the attention that I should be giving it. We grew from a market stall and went to an online business. There's a whole customer base that we can go back and nurture by going to a market stall. It's a great market test. You're testing the market by putting new flavors out there, by seeing how people react to our packaging. So I think events, market stalls, it might be a bit twee going to a market stall, but it's definitely something that shouldn't be ignored, for sure. And I hope I'm not going to turn out to be a hypocrite and in a year's time say I've done absolutely none of it. So I hope I take my own advice.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for getting in front of your customer. When you can do it as simply as taking a market stall, why wouldn't you do it? Go get that feedback straight away. It can save you months and months and months of deliberation and bad decisions. Okay, the tool top tip. Maybe a collaboration tool, a social media plugin, a phone app, or just a way of working. Is there a cool little tool you use that makes you and your team more efficient from day to day?
Well, I think for some businesses, this is going to be an obvious answer. They're already going to be using Asana. I love Asana. We do everything on Asana. But there's a very strong contender to the top tip tool, and that is Gorgias. So I think that's how you pronounce it, Gorgias, Gorgias. CRM tool that integrates with Shopify. So when someone emails, their order details are exactly there. And it's so useful to have a resolution time of less than, I think at our peak, our resolution time was 48 minutes, or our first response time was 12 minutes to emails, because we weren't clicking in, clicking out. Where's the order? Where's the shipping? What's happened? And I don't think enough people know about it. I've spoken to people who would rather use Zendesk than Gorgias, but yeah. And I've totally not explored its AI functionality as well. So I'm very excited about that. Definitely.
Nice couple of recommendations there. And yeah, it's quite weird how many hold on to the old tech that is Zendesk and don't upgrade to new tech like Gorgias, or there's plenty of other options out there, but I think they are leading the market at the moment. Okay, the carbon top tip. What's your favourite way to reduce the carbon footprint of an e-commerce store?
So it is probably at the moment our packing pellets. So these are biodegradable packing pellets to keep the macarons safe in transit. You can put them in water when you get them and they just dissolve, which I think is really cool. I have looked at using other sort of protective packaging, but I think for us this one does the job the best. I would like to operate a sort of return refill scheme where our boxes are beautiful. They've got magnetic clasps. They're really designed to be like a jewellery box. So macarons are these edible jewels. You open the box, you go, oh, they're so beautiful. And then you taste them, like, oh, they taste delicious. So it's a real experience from start to finish. But I need to work out the calculation of sending that person the box, them sending it back to us, and then sending it again. So is that actually really a good thing for the planet? So we'll see once I've worked that all out.
It sounds like an interesting one to be working on. And I have to say, I love, as a consumer, I love it when I get those pellets that you can just run the tap over and they go. But I hate it when I get ones I think that are that, fill the sink, and then they don't go anywhere. So yeah, Very cool top tip. Thank you. Rachel, before we say goodbye, you've made all of our mouths water about your macarons. So where can people get their macarons? Where can they get in touch with you, please?
Yes, so if Google works properly in our favor, just search French macarons online. But our website is www.mademoisellememacaron.co.uk. We have the domain names of Madame Macaron and Madame Macaron in case people type it in incorrectly. So if your French isn't up to scratch, you should still find your way to us.
Brilliant. There you go, everyone. That's how to get in touch and how to get your macaron fix. Rachel, thank you so much for being on the e-commerce masterplan podcast. It's been a real treat chatting with you, and I wish you all the best for the interesting stuff you've got coming up this year.
Thank you.
What a fascinating business Rachel's built with kind of like one product, but a million different SKUs, and how she's developed that into various different SKUs, various different ways of putting it together, but really and then developed it into other markets as well, with the weddings, with the corporate orders, with the wholesale activity, as well as that core D2C. Really fascinating. I kind of really appreciate her bearing her soul a bit with those agency woes, because I know a lot of you have those and you're not quite sure what to do. So it was always good to hear when someone else is having a bit of a screw up on the go. So very nice of her to share that. And then the other thing I would say and take away from that is how she's so focused on the brand and getting the brand across to people with what she was saying about the boxes, how she's managed to extrapolate it into different marketplaces. Cannot wait to see what they do with their content play later this year either. Now, you get your hands on our notes from this episode, including those top tips and the things we mentioned, by heading over to ecommercemasterplan.com. You can also use our direct episode short links. Just put ecmp.info/the number of this episode into the URL bar, and you'll be redirected straight to the right page on the site. When you get to the website, you can also add yourself to our email list so you don't miss out on any of the other things I share to help you improve your business. If you like this episode, then why not check out our other Shopify episodes? Just go to ecmp.info/Shopify to find out about all of those. Thank you for tuning in to this and every episode that you do of the e-commerce masterplan podcast. I bring you a new one of these interviews every single Monday because I want to inspire and help e-commerce business owners like you to succeed and thrive with your businesses, including progressing along the path to net zero. So if you know someone this show can help, please tell them to listen to the e-commerce masterplan podcast. I hope you have a great week, and don't forget to keep optimizing.
Thank you for listening to the e-commerce masterplan podcast. Find out more at ecommercemasterplan.com/podcast.
Stop wasting discounts on people who would buy anyway. Try RevLifter free for 90 days. Visit ecmp.info/RevLifter to learn more.